Hello everyone, and welcome to another Top 5 Records video and another one in the series in which I'm taking a closer look at the full body of work of Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, awaiting the release of their new album, Wild God. Later this month, I'm looking back at their entire discography. And today, it is time for Abbatoir Blues, or the Lyre of Orpheus, or Abbatoir Blues, or the Lyre of Orpheus. This album is, in my opinion, an odd one out because basically these are two albums. They come on two separate discs. They have separate names, different artworks, but they are in the same package. Almost like Your Funeral, My Trial, which are two EPs, also in one release. But Your Funeral, My Trial, Your Funeral, uh, switched it around, is more of a coherent album. This one, Abbatoir Blues and the Lyre of Orpheus, basically have different ideas. Abbatoir Blues, to start out with that one, is a much rougher album than the Lyre of Orpheus, which is a more ballad. Um, I wouldn't say gospel, but the gospel influence is there. But more ballad-like story of Orpheus with alterations. Let's start off with Abbatoir Blues because that's a very nice opener if you're gonna listen to this album. This reminds me of old Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. It's as if for the first time since Let Me In, we are getting a proof or a sample or actually an album of the fury that they once had. Yet, it is not simply Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds traveling back to their past. They sound, although furious and dangerous and heavy, different. Now, I gotta be very precise with my words here because I do not like it when reviewers or critics use the word developed or grown, because that insinuates that they have become better to a certain extent, and especially with regard to arts or music or films. Sometimes there is a certain wildness in the raw power of when an artist began that is just impossible to grow because that young wild raw power has an essence of its own. It contains an element of youth. Now I can also say that they grew older in a certain way because old can mean so many things, especially in music. We've seen the word old be misused in a lot of cases, as if older means less relevant yet wiser. I'm not sure if the old Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds weren't wise at all. Have they matured? I find it tough. I also do not like to call the change in the sound more sophisticated. Um, they are definitely doing a more complicated job. I think that's the better word. They're doing a more complicated job at a youthful energy that reminds of the old Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. And it's because it is different from their 80s work, it is fresh. It is another take on their post punk, rough, bluesier sound, blues rock sound, Abbatoir Blues. And I like it. I love it. But even more, and that is switching to this side, the Lyre of Orpheus. This is a gorgeous melodical album. Very different in tone, in approach, than Abbatoir Blues. It tells the story of Orpheus, but this is interesting with Nick Cave. He alters plot elements. He alters the story to make it more his own. And I think that is interesting. I think he's been doing that all throughout his career. That is, that he is taking a myth, whether it be a Greek myth or a Western myth, or a Greek story or a Western story. He changes elements in the plot. He changes the vocabulary of the characters, and he makes them into Nick Cave characters. I'm not saying that they are necessarily himself or represent himself, but like a certain author, when they write a character, they become a creation of themselves. Like in a Tarantino movie, Quentin Tarantino can write about he can write a character that has a historical essence or that existed, but the way he changes their way of speaking, the way he directs them, they become Tarantino characters. That is what Nick Cave does with great big characters, be it Stagger Lee, be it Orpheus. And I love that. I love it. Even more so, what I love about this album is the atmosphere. More and more on this album is Warren Ellis' sound, his violin, and the soundscapes that he creates with his music is taking, it's coming better at its place. It is as if the Nick Cave plays the main character, and it's as if Warren Ellis does the art direction. You know, as if he is creating the landscapes, as if he's creating the caves that Orpheus enters. I really, really love what he's doing on that album. And I think that the Lyre of Orpheus might be his most mythical to this moment. Of course, it's easy to say that when you're talking about the telling of a Greek myth. Um, but the sound is more mythical. Also, the last song on this album, "Oh Children," is used in Harry Potter, and a lot of people talk about that. And if you haven't seen the Harry Potter films, I can imagine people thinking, "Yeah, but what's so special about it?" Well, the Harry Potter universe really takes place in a universe of its own. There is this music by John Williams, and there are no pop references. It does not take place in the Muggle world. Yet there is one song that they find that truly has the magical, mythical sense of the Harry Potter series, and the Harry Potter series as they mature, because they start off as children's films and they end up definitely mature fantasy films. And that is Nick Cave. And listening to that, I thought, man, I hope that the new Harry Potter show will have soundtrack by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, because this is grown-up mystery. This is grown-up fantasy, mysticism, and also the stories of the Harry Potter series develop into more layered, mature psychological analysis of characters. Seriously, it's good writing. It is something that fits in the universe of Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. So this one, Abbatoir Blues and the Lyre of Orpheus, again, a masterpiece by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. So I'm curious, what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave a comment below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.